She braced for death at human hands, but what he did instead changed her forever. Their strange, noisy machines beeped and hummed, casting shadows over the dry, cracked ground of the outpost she had been observing for days. She had expected hostility, yes, but she had not expected the intensity of this moment. Her people had taught her many things about humans. They were curious, clever, but also dangerous. They did not forgive easily. The stories of captured aliens returning home in pieces haunted her even as she crouched behind a jagged rock. Lyra's large eyes scanned the human patrols, looking for any opening. She had practiced stealth for months, trained in silence and invisibility. But today, something had gone wrong. A tiny misstep, a snap of a branch, and suddenly she was exposed. The humans froze for a moment, as if surprised by her sudden appearance. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. He carried no obvious weapon, but the way he moved made it clear he was in command. Lyra could feel her chest tighten. She knew the stories. Humans often killed first and asked questions later. Her body braced for the pain she thought was coming. But instead of attacking, the man paused. His eyes, a deep brown, seemed to search her mind, or perhaps they only searched her face, but the effect was the same. Lyra felt something she had not felt in a long time, hesitation. "Don't be afraid," the man said. His voice was calm, steady, not filled with anger or aggression. "I won't hurt you." Lyra's ears twitched. She had expected threats, screams, perhaps even blinding energy weapons. But this was strange. She did not lower her guard. Instead, she cocked her head, studying him. Why wasn't he attacking? Why wasn't he calling for reinforcements? The man held out his hand slowly. "Come with me, please, I just want to talk." Lyra considered her options. She could run, she could fight, she could hide. But her limbs felt heavy. Her instincts screamed at her, stay low, retreat, vanish into the shadows. Yet something about him, the calmness, the patience, made her pause. "Why?" she finally asked, her voice soft but wary. "Because not everything you've heard about humans is true," he replied. "And I want you to see that for yourself." Lyra's mind raced. Could she trust him? Could one human really be different from the others? Her training urged her to strike now, to disappear before it was too late. But her curiosity, the same curiosity that had brought her to Earth, kept her rooted to the ground. Slowly, she stepped forward, keeping her body low, her eyes locked on him. The humans around him relaxed slightly, but they did not lower their weapons. She realized that even if this man meant no harm, the others might not feel the same. The man motioned toward a small transport vehicle, sleek and white, standing a few meters away. "Get in. You'll be safe inside, I promise." Lyra hesitated. Safe? Could there truly be safety here? Her species had learned long ago that trust was dangerous, often fatal, yet something in his tone felt different. There was no threat, no command, only an invitation. Her legs moved before her mind caught up. She climbed into the vehicle, her body still tense, every muscle ready to react. The man followed, and as the doors closed behind her, she caught a glimpse of the world outside. Jagged rocks, dry earth, and a sky that stretched endlessly, painted with hues of orange and red. Earth was strange, harsh, and beautiful all at once. Inside, the vehicle was quiet. The hum of the engine was soft, almost soothing. Lyra kept her eyes on him, her body rigid. "You could have killed me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I could have," he admitted. "But I didn't, because I believe there is more to this than fear and violence." "Don't you?" Lyra tilted her head. His words were strange, almost naive, yet they resonated. She had seen humans capable of kindness before, but never up close. She had watched from afar, cautious and careful, as they built, created, and sometimes destroyed. But she had never seen one human make a choice like this. The man introduced himself. "I'm Captain Elias." His tone was firm but gentle. "And you are?" "Lyra," she said. "Scout, observer." "Lyra," he repeated, as if savoring the sound. "Well, Scout, I want to understand you, and I want you to understand us. That's all." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. Why help me? Why risk your life?" Elias shrugged, a small, human gesture. "Because sometimes doing the right thing is worth the risk. Because I believe every being has value, and because I think you're more than just an alien scout. I think you're someone who can teach me something too." Lyra studied him in silence. The words were foreign to her, yet they carried a weight she could not ignore. Her species valued strength, intelligence, and survival above all else. Humans valued courage, yes, but also something else, something harder to define. Compassion, perhaps. Hours passed as the vehicle moved over rough terrain. Lyra said little, watching the landscape pass by. Elias tried to make conversation, telling her about Earth, about the people who lived there, about the choices humans made every day. He spoke of their victories and failures, their mistakes and their small acts of heroism. "You fear us because you don't understand us," Elias said at one point. "And I fear you because I don't understand you, but maybe we can change that." Lyra's mind turned over his words: change, trust, fear. All of these were intertwined, and yet she felt a small, unfamiliar sensation. Hope. When the vehicle finally stopped, they were at a human outpost, a tall, metallic structure surrounded by walls and watchtowers. Soldiers moved with precision, scanning the area for threats. Lyra's instincts screamed at her to escape, to vanish into the sky. Yet she remained seated, her eyes following Elias as he led her inside. Inside the outpost, things were brighter, warmer than she expected. Humans bustled about, but there was no immediate hostility. Some stared at her curiously, others whispered. Lyra realized that fear was not universal here. Not everyone wanted to hurt her. Elias guided her to a secure room. "You'll be safe here for now. Just observe, learn, and rest. I'll come back soon." Lyra sat on a metal bench, her four limbs tucked beneath her. She stared at the walls, listening to the hum of life around her. She could feel the eyes of humans on her, some suspicious, some simply curious. She had expected chains, confinement, even pain. But this was different. As the hours passed, Lyra began to understand that her preconceived notions of humans were incomplete. They were clever, yes, but also unpredictable. They were strong, yes, but capable of compassion. And one man, Captain Elias, had chosen to show her the side of humanity she had never believed existed. By the time night fell over the outpost, Lyra felt a strange sense of calm. She did not fully trust these humans yet, but she no longer feared them the way she had before. A small ember of curiosity had ignited within her, a desire to learn, to understand, and perhaps to hope. And as she drifted into a light, uneasy sleep, she realized something she had never admitted even to herself. Maybe humans were worth knowing. Maybe, just maybe, they could change her life forever. Lyra's first night inside the human outpost was restless. Shadows danced on the walls, cast by the artificial lights overhead, and every distant footstep made her heart race. She had been trained to sleep lightly, to always be aware of potential threats. But for the first time, fear was mingled with something else: curiosity. When the morning came, the hum of the outpost was already in motion. Humans moved quickly, their actions purposeful and coordinated. Soldiers checked equipment, engineers adjusted controls, and others walked briskly through corridors, carrying messages or data pads. Lyra watched from her room, hidden behind a glass panel that allowed her to see without being seen. She had never encountered such organized chaos, nor had she ever seen creatures so energetic, so determined. A knock on her door startled her. "Lyra, it's Elias." "May I come in?" His voice was calm, patient, full of reassurance. She hesitated. Her instincts screamed caution, but she remembered his promise. Slowly, she nodded. Elias entered the room, hands raised slightly to show he meant no harm. His uniform was neat, practical, and his presence carried authority, yet he moved with a gentleness that surprised her. He carried a small tray with food, something warm and aromatic that she had never smelled before. "Try it," he said, placing the tray in front of her. "You must be hungry." Lyra tilted her head. Hunger was not unfamiliar, but humans ate differently than her people. She cautiously picked up a small portion and tasted it. Warm, comforting flavors filled her senses. She had expected bitterness, perhaps even poison. Instead, it was nourishing. Elias smiled faintly, noticing her reaction. "Food is important," he said. "It keeps us strong, and it also gives us a reason to pause and think, to connect." Lyra studied him in silence, unsure how to respond. She had never met a human who spoke like this. Her people valued efficiency, strategy, and survival. Humans valued something else, something she was only beginning to understand. After a moment, she finally spoke. "Why are you helping me? You could have left me in the desert. You could have turned me over to your superiors." Elias leaned against the wall, folding his arms. "Because sometimes doing what is right is more important than following orders. You are not just a threat or a curiosity. You are a being with your own thoughts, your own choices. And I want to understand them." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. Understanding, that was foreign. Her people rarely sought understanding from others, especially humans. They observed, assessed, and often acted with cold logic. But Elias seemed different. Over the next few days, Lyra began tentative conversations with Elias. She learned his name was more than a title. He had lived on Earth all his life, trained in the human military, yet he had a mind that sought answers beyond orders. He spoke of human history, of achievements and failures, of moments when humans had risen above fear and violence to help one another. "You humans are strange," Lyra said one day, her tone both curious and cautious. "You fight, yes, but you also help. You destroy, yet you create. Why?" Elias chuckled softly. "Because we are flawed, we make mistakes, but we also have something unique: empathy, courage, the ability to choose kindness even when it's hard." Lyra pondered his words. Her people had always valued survival above all else. Humans valued more than logic, more than strategy. They valued each other, and Elias embodied that. Their conversations were interrupted one afternoon by the arrival of other humans in the outpost. Some of them were skeptical, their eyes narrowing as they looked at Lyra. They whispered among themselves, questioning her presence. "You should not trust her," one officer said. "She is an alien, we don't know her intentions." Elias stepped forward, placing a hand gently on Lyra's shoulder. "We don't know, that's true, but fear alone should not guide our actions. She is here, and right now she has chosen not to harm us. That deserves acknowledgement." Lyra felt a surge of gratitude. In her life, few beings had defended her unconditionally. To see Elias stand up for her, even against his own people, stirred something unfamiliar: hope. Days turned into weeks, and the bond between Lyra and Elias grew. They shared stories of their worlds, their experiences, and their dreams. Lyra spoke of distant planets, of skies that shimmered in colors Earth had never seen, and of oceans that glowed with living light. Elias shared the human achievements he was proud of: the construction of massive cities, the creation of tools that could change the world, the courage of ordinary humans in extraordinary situations. "You humans surprise me," Lyra said one evening, gazing at the stars through the outpost's observation window. "I expected only war, only fear, but you show patience, you show compassion. Even in small ways, you care." Elias smiled faintly. "Small acts of kindness can matter more than the largest battles. We are capable of destruction, yes, but we are also capable of change." Lyra considered this. She had come to Earth expecting hostility. Instead, she found humans who could choose peace, who could choose understanding over fear. And one human, Elias, had shown her the way. However, trust was not universal. Other humans in the outpost remained wary. Some watched her closely, questioning her motives. Lyra understood their caution. It was natural, given her appearance, her abilities, her unknown origin. Yet she could not ignore the possibility that humans were capable of more than fear and aggression. One day, while Elias and Lyra were reviewing maps of Earth and the surrounding regions, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed, and a voice echoed through the outpost. "Unauthorized aircraft detected, possible alien craft approaching." Lyra's heart leapt. She had not expected this. Elias remained calm, his hand steady on the console. "Stay here," he said, his tone firm but reassuring. "I'll handle this." Lyra wanted to flee, to escape into the wilds of Earth where she might survive alone, but something held her back. She had seen Elias in action before, calm under pressure, clever, determined. Perhaps she could trust him. Perhaps humans were capable of courage that rivaled even the bravest of her people. Elias moved through the command center with precision, coordinating defenses, issuing orders, and analyzing the approaching threat. Lyra watched, fascinated by his leadership. He did not panic, he did not falter. Every move was calculated, yet infused with an instinctive care for those around him. The alien craft approached, sleek and menacing, but Elias' strategy worked. Humans and their technology moved in harmony, creating barriers and signals that confused the intruders. Lyra realized that humans were not just clever, they were adaptable. They could respond, learn, and act under pressure. When the threat was finally neutralized, Lyra felt a mix of relief and awe. She looked at Elias, who was wiping sweat from his brow, a faint smile on his face. "We're safe," he said simply. "For now." Lyra's respect for him deepened. She had expected fear, expected violence, expected betrayal. Instead, she found patience, intelligence, and courage. And she realized something profound. Humans were not the monsters her people had warned her about. They were unpredictable, yes, but also capable of greatness. Over the following days, Lyra and Elias continued to grow closer. He taught her small human customs, ways of speaking, gestures, and behaviors that helped bridge the gap between their worlds. She, in turn, shared knowledge of the stars, of alien technology, and of distant civilizations. Their partnership became a blend of trust, curiosity, and mutual respect. One afternoon, as they trained together in a secure area of the outpost, Lyra tested her abilities, leaping higher and moving faster than any human could. Elias observed carefully, offering guidance, never fear, never judgment. "Your skills are incredible," he said. "But remember, sometimes strength alone is not enough. Strategy, patience, and trust matter too." Lyra nodded, absorbing his lesson. She had relied on speed, agility, and instinct all her life. But humans had taught her something new. Courage was not only about action, it was also about choice. Choosing to act with care, choosing to trust, choosing to protect rather than destroy. As the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple, Lyra felt a strange warmth in her chest. Fear was no longer her only companion. Hope had begun to take root. She had expected death at human hands, yet instead she had found an unlikely ally. And in Elias, she had found more than a protector. She had found someone who could change the way she saw the universe. Lyra knew her journey was only beginning. The world outside was dangerous, full of unknown threats and challenges. But for the first time, she believed that together, she and a human could face them, and perhaps even change the fate of two worlds. Lyra had begun to trust humans in ways she never imagined, but deep down, she knew she could not stay at the outpost forever. Her presence was an anomaly, a secret that could not remain hidden. Though Captain Elias had protected her, there were others who might see her as a threat or a tool to be used. She needed a plan, an escape plan that would keep her safe while preserving the fragile trust she had built. Elias understood her concerns before she voiced them. One evening, as the orange light of Earth's setting sun streamed through the observation window, he said, "I know this is temporary. I also know you want to go home or at least somewhere safe. We need a plan." Lyra's eyes widened. "You would help me leave, even after all this?" Elias smiled faintly. "I said I wanted to understand you. I never said I would trap you. Besides, I think you've taught me a lot about courage. Let me return the favor." Her heart stirred. No human had ever offered her freedom without expectation before. Yet even as gratitude filled her chest, doubt lingered. Could she trust him completely? Could humans act without hidden motives? But she saw sincerity in his eyes, the kind of sincerity that was rare across the galaxy. Together, they began to outline a plan. The first step was information. Lyra shared what she knew of the patrol schedules, the surveillance systems, and the weak points in the outpost's defenses. Elias combined that with his knowledge of human security systems, creating a strategy that balanced stealth with efficiency. "You'll need to move quickly," Elias said, pointing at a holographic map of the facility. "There are sensors along these corridors, and automated drones patrol the outer perimeter. One misstep and the alarm will trigger, bringing everyone down on us." Lyra's limbs twitched in anticipation. Danger excited her, but her mind remained sharp. "And the humans who suspect me?" she asked. Elias' face darkened slightly. "We'll have to be careful. They're cautious, yes, but not cruel. If we can avoid them and reach the hangar, we can get you to safety without harming anyone. That's the goal." Over the next several days, they practiced. Elias taught her to read human signals and recognize patterns. Lyra shared her abilities, stealth, speed, agility, and they blended their skills into a coordinated plan. Every detail was considered: the timing of guards, the rotation of drones, the backup routes. The more they planned, the more Lyra realized that humans were not only capable of courage, they were clever, adaptable, and relentless in pursuit of solutions. Finally, the night arrived. The outpost was bathed in a pale blue light from the twin moons overhead. The halls were quiet, but the hum of machinery reminded them that danger was never far away. Lyra crouched low, muscles coiled like springs. Elias moved beside her, calm and confident, his hand occasionally brushing hers in a silent signal to stay alert. "Remember," he whispered, "we move fast, stay quiet, and trust each other. We can do this." Lyra nodded. Her heart pounded, but fear was replaced by focus. Together, they slipped into the shadows, moving through corridors and stairwells with practiced precision. Lyra's alien eyes detected every heat signature, every faint movement, allowing them to avoid patrols and sensors. Elias provided guidance, signaling when to pause or change direction. They reached the hangar, but the door was locked electronically. Lyra studied the panel, her fingers moving over the alien controls she had learned to manipulate. The system was sophisticated, yet not impossible. With careful adjustments and Elia's guidance, the lock clicked, and the door slowly began to rise. As they stepped into the hangar, a faint alarm began to sound. Lyra froze. "Someone triggered it," she whispered. Elia's eyes narrowed. "Probably one of the sensors we missed. Stay calm, we can still make it." Lyra's body moved instinctively. She sprinted ahead, her four limbs propelling her faster than any human could run. Elias followed, moving with skill and agility, his military training complementing her alien speed. The hangar doors were opening fully now, revealing the night sky and the vast desert beyond. From the shadows, human soldiers emerged, alerted by the faint alarm. But Elias was ready. He had anticipated this. With precise movements, he signaled the guards to hold, creating a distraction that gave Lyra the crucial seconds she needed. Her heart raced as she leapt onto the hovercraft waiting outside, a sleek vehicle designed for speed and agility. Elias joined her, and the vehicle lifted off, gliding over the desert sand with effortless grace. Below them, the outpost shrank into the distance, its lights twinkling like stars. Lyra looked at Elias, her eyes wide with disbelief and gratitude. "You saved me," she said, her voice trembling. "I promised," he replied simply, "and I meant it." The hovercraft soared into the night, carrying them away from the danger that had threatened her for so long. Lyra could feel the wind rushing past, the exhilaration of freedom mingling with the lingering tension of their escape. She realized that humans, while unpredictable, could act with precision, bravery, and selflessness in moments of crisis. As they flew over the desert, Lyra began to speak, sharing insights about her people, about alien technology, and the larger dangers that existed beyond Earth. Elias listened intently, asking questions, absorbing knowledge, and offering perspectives from his own world. They became partners in the truest sense. One human, one alien, learning from each other, relying on each other, trusting each other. But their freedom was not yet complete. On the horizon, a faint glimmer of movement caught Lyra's eyes. A patrol was converging on their location, faster than she expected. She tapped into her senses, detecting the approach of more soldiers and a second hovercraft. "Elias," she warned, "we're not clear yet, they're closing in." Elias' hands tightened on the controls, his face set with determination. "Then we adapt. That's what humans do. That's what we've been preparing for." Lyra's alien mind raced. Using her abilities, she manipulated the hovercraft's trajectory, creating sudden bursts of speed and unexpected maneuvers. Elias adjusted the controls perfectly, coordinating with her movements. Together, they outpaced the pursuing patrol, weaving through canyons and rocky outcrops with breathtaking precision. Finally, they reached a remote canyon where the hovercraft could land safely. The ground was uneven, jagged, and treacherous, but Elias guided the vehicle down with skill. Lyra leapt to solid rock just as the craft touched down, helping Elias to land safely beside her. For a moment they stood in silence, breathing heavily, hearts racing. The danger had passed, at least for now. Lyra looked at Elias, feeling a mixture of awe, respect, and something deeper she had not yet named. "You could have stayed behind," she said softly. "You didn't have to risk yourself." Elias shook his head. "I told you, Lyra. Courage isn't just about facing danger. It's about choosing to protect others even when it's hard. That's what humans do sometimes." Lyra considered his words. She had come to Earth expecting hostility, expecting fear, expecting death. Instead, she found humans capable of bravery, empathy, and loyalty. And one human, Captain Elias, had shown her the full measure of that strength. As they rested in the canyon, Lyra began to see the possibilities before her. Earth was a world of unpredictability, yes, but also a world where courage and trust could thrive. She realized that survival was not only about escaping danger. It was also about forming bonds, understanding others, and making choices that could shape the future. Elias looked at her with a mixture of determination and hope. "We need to keep moving," he said. "This canyon is remote but not safe forever. There are humans and technologies out there that will seek to capture you again. We need to get you somewhere secure, somewhere you can rest and plan your next steps." Lyra nodded. Her body was tired, but her mind was alert. She had survived capture, she had survived the outpost, and now she had survived an escape that had tested both human and alien abilities. She knew that the journey ahead would be difficult, but she also knew she was not alone. Together, they began moving through the canyon under the cover of night, using shadows, terrain, and strategy to evade detection. Each step strengthened their bond, each challenge honed their trust. Lyra realized that humans were not only capable of survival, they were capable of greatness, of heroism, of acts that could change lives. By the time dawn broke, painting the canyon in soft gold and pink hues, Lyra and Elias had reached a hidden enclave, a place Elias had prepared for emergencies, a safe haven away from prying eyes. Here, for the first time since her capture, Lyra allowed herself to breathe fully. She was free, at least for now. As she looked at Elias standing beside her, she understood something profound. Freedom was not just the absence of chains. Freedom was trust. Freedom was courage. Freedom was the choice to act with heart, even when fear demanded otherwise. And in Elias, she had found the living embodiment of that freedom. The hidden enclave was quiet, almost eerily so. Lyra stretched her limbs, feeling the unfamiliar comfort of solid ground beneath her 4 feet. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a moment of stillness. The desert winds outside whispered softly against the walls, carrying the scent of sand and distant minerals, and for a brief moment, Lyra felt almost at peace. Elias, ever vigilant, paced near the entrance. Even in this quiet, his senses remained sharp. Lyra watched him from a distance, noting the tension in his shoulders, the alertness in his gaze. He did not rest fully, not until he was sure the enclave was secure. And even then, he moved with purpose, checking supplies, securing communication channels, and scanning the horizon for potential threats. "You are tireless," Lyra said finally, her voice breaking the silence. Elias glanced at her, smiling faintly. "Someone has to be. The world is unpredictable. Safety is never guaranteed." Lyra tilted her head. She had come to respect his dedication, his ability to act calmly under pressure. She had seen humans fight, yes, but she was beginning to understand that their true strength lay in persistence, in courage, and in their willingness to protect others even when danger loomed. For days, they rested and planned. Elias provided her with supplies and guidance, teaching her more about human technology, communication methods, and ways to avoid detection. In turn, Lyra shared knowledge of alien sensors, survival tactics, and the vast expanse of space beyond Earth. The enclave became a place of learning and preparation, a place where human ingenuity and alien skill combined to form something stronger than either could achieve alone. But safety was fragile. Lyra soon realized that danger existed beyond the enclave. Reports from distant satellites indicated unusual energy readings near a nearby city. Elias analyzed the data, his brow furrowed. "It's a natural phenomenon," he explained, "but it could threaten thousands of lives. Humans, aliens, anyone nearby. And we have a choice, act or wait and watch them suffer." Lyra's instincts flared. "We could leave, we are safe here." Elias shook his head. "No, that is not who we are. Humans do not abandon those in need, and neither should you." Lyra studied him carefully. She had seen humans act with fear, with selfishness, with indifference. But she had also seen humans act with courage, with determination, with empathy. And Elias represented the best of them. A willingness to act even when the odds were uncertain, a willingness to risk for others. Together, they prepared to leave the enclave and head toward the city. They traveled under the cover of night, using terrain, shadows, and strategic movement to avoid detection. Lyra marveled at the ingenuity of human planning, at their ability to combine observation, analysis, and quick action in ways her people rarely practiced. As they approached the city, the scale of the disaster became clear. A massive storm, unlike any Lyra had seen, churned overhead. Energy surges struck buildings, causing fires and chaos. Civilians ran in every direction, confused and frightened. Human emergency teams worked frantically, attempting to guide people to safety, but the storm was relentless. Lyra felt a surge of emotion she had never experienced before. Her species valued strategy, efficiency, and logic. Humans valued life itself. They rushed into danger not because it was strategic, but because it was right. Elias guided her through the chaos. "We need to help them," he said, his voice steady despite the roaring storm. "People are counting on us. Move quickly but carefully." Lyra's body reacted instinctively. She used her alien agility to leap across debris, lift fallen beams, and assist humans trapped under rubble. Elias moved beside her, carrying survivors to safety, coordinating with emergency teams, and offering guidance to those in shock. Together, they became a force of action and hope, blending human courage with alien ability. At one point, a building collapsed nearby, sending a cloud of dust and debris into the air. Lyra froze for a moment, calculating the risk. Elias caught her arm. "Focus! We can do this." "We have to." With precise coordination, Lyra and Elias guided survivors from the collapsing area. Their actions saved dozens, if not hundreds, of lives. Lyra's respect for humanity deepened with each passing moment. They were not merely strong or intelligent. They were compassionate, capable of immense bravery, and willing to act even when danger threatened their own lives. As the storm began to subside, the scale of the damage became apparent. Fires smoldered in the streets, buildings lay in ruins, and the air was thick with dust and smoke. Yet among the devastation, Lyra saw something remarkable. Humans helping humans, strangers risking everything to save one another, communities coming together in defiance of fear. Elias guided Lyra to a vantage point overlooking the city. "This is why I fight," he said quietly. "Not for glory, not for power, but for moments like this, to see people survive, to see courage, to see hope. Humans are flawed, yes, but we are capable of greatness." Lyra's eyes widened. She had expected death, chaos, and destruction. Instead, she found determination, empathy, and heroism. She realized that the stories her people had told of humans as violent, selfish creatures were incomplete. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability included acts of kindness and bravery that could rival any skill or weapon. Over the following days, Lyra helped coordinate relief efforts. She used her knowledge of alien technology to stabilize damaged structures, her senses to locate survivors, and her agility to navigate areas too dangerous for ordinary humans. Elias continued to guide and protect her, demonstrating leadership, patience, and unwavering courage. Through these experiences, Lyra learned a profound truth. Courage was not merely about fighting. It was about choosing to act for the benefit of others, even when fear demanded inaction. It was about empathy, determination, and the willingness to face the unknown with a clear mind and an open heart. One evening, as the city slowly recovered, Lyra and Elias sat atop a building, overlooking the scene below. Fires had been extinguished, the wounded were being cared for, and humans moved with renewed determination to rebuild. "You humans are remarkable," Lyra said softly. "I expected hostility, I expected fear, but I found hope, courage, compassion. I did not know you were capable of this." Elias smiled, a mixture of pride and humility in his expression. "We are capable, yes, not always perfect, not always fast, but capable. That is what makes us human." Lyra pondered his words. She had traveled across galaxies, seen countless worlds, and studied many species. Yet humans, with all their flaws and unpredictability, had shown her something profound. The strength to act, the courage to choose, and the capacity for empathy that could change lives. The storm had been a test, not of Lyra, but of humanity, and humans, through courage and compassion, had passed. Lyra realized that her perceptions had shifted completely. She no longer saw humans as threats, nor merely as beings to be studied. She saw them as potential allies, as creatures capable of greatness, and as a species worth protecting. Elias turned to her, his eyes reflecting the fading light of the city below. "You've changed too, Lyra. You've seen what humans can do, and in turn, you've learned something about yourself. Courage, empathy, and trust are not limited to one species. They are choices anyone can make." Lyra nodded, feeling a warmth in her chest she had not known before. She had braced for death at human hands, yet she had been met with something far greater: guidance, trust, and the chance to see humanity at its best. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and crimson, Lyra realized something important. Her journey was not over. The world was still full of dangers, still full of unknowns. But she no longer feared humans as she once had. She no longer believed that fear alone defined the choices of others. Instead, she understood that courage, empathy, and action could bridge even the greatest gaps between species. And she knew that with Elias by her side, she could face the future, not as a scout, not as a captive, but as an ally, a partner, and a witness to humanity's potential. The city below was battered, yes, but it was alive. Its people were resilient, brave, and compassionate. Lyra felt a sense of hope she had never thought possible. She had seen humans rise above fear, protect one another, and act with a courage that transcended species. And in that moment, Lyra understood something that would stay with her forever. Humanity, at its best, was not defined by weapons, power, or conquest. It was defined by the choices to act with courage, to help without expectation, and to trust even when fear demanded otherwise. For the first time in her life, Lyra believed that humans, and perhaps even herself, could change the course of the future. And she knew that the next steps of her journey would be guided not by fear, but by hope, courage, and the extraordinary capacity for empathy that she had witnessed in the humans of Earth. The desert wind whispered softly as Lyra stood at the edge of the canyon, watching the rising sun paint the sky in warm oranges and gentle pinks. The events of the past weeks replayed in her mind like a vivid tapestry: fear, capture, escape, chaos, and courage. She had arrived on Earth expecting hostility, bracing herself for death at human hands, yet she had found something far greater: trust, courage, and the capacity for empathy that could change lives. Beside her, Captain Elias adjusted the pack on his back and glanced at her with a quiet, reassuring smile. "You ready?" he asked. "It's time to get you home." Lyra took a deep breath. Home. A place she had not seen in months, yet a place that felt closer than ever because of the choices she had witnessed. Elias had not just protected her, he had taught her something profound about humans and about herself. "Yes," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Let's go." The journey back to her ship was quiet. Both moved with purpose, scanning the terrain for any signs of danger. Lyra marveled at the thoughtfulness of Elias' planning. Every step, every maneuver was calculated for safety, yet carried the freedom of choice. She realized humans were remarkable, not just for their strength or technology, but for their ability to think, adapt, and act with courage when it truly mattered. As they approached her ship, Lyra paused to look at the world around her. Earth's deserts stretched endlessly, raw and unforgiving, yet beautiful in their own way. She thought of the humans she had seen in the storm, helping strangers, risking themselves for others, and felt a deep admiration swell in her chest. Her species had long measured life in terms of survival and efficiency, yet humans measured life in moments of courage, compassion, and choice. Elias noticed her pause. "Thinking about what you've seen?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "I never imagined a species could choose to be so brave, to care so much for others even when it's difficult, even when it's dangerous." Elias' eyes softened. "That's humanity. We are not perfect, but we are capable of greatness, and you've seen it firsthand. You've learned something about courage and trust that many never do." Lyra's eyes drifted skyward, toward the stars she had traveled so far to study. She realized that the galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike. Yet what she had learned on Earth, the choice to act with empathy, the courage to protect without expectation, was a lesson she could carry to any world. Humans, in their unpredictable way, had taught her something her people rarely understood: that strength alone was not enough. True power lay in choices, in compassion, and in courage. Boarding her ship, Lyra felt a mix of anticipation and nostalgia. Elias accompanied her to the controls, his presence grounding her. "I'll see you off," he said. "Then it's up to you to decide the rest." Lyra's fingers brushed over the alien controls, her mind alive with thoughts. She had observed, adapted, and survived. She had trusted a human when every instinct told her not to. She had witnessed humanity at its best and worst, yet what remained in her memory was not fear but inspiration. "Thank you, Elias," she said softly, "for everything." Elias shook his head. "No, Lyra, thank you. You reminded me why humans are capable of hope. Courage is not just about battle, it's about making the right choice even when it's hard. And you reminded me why we keep trying." The engines roared to life, and the ship lifted off the ground, gliding effortlessly above the desert. Lyra watched the enclave and the distant city shrink below her, the memories of chaos and courage intertwined in her mind. She realized that humans, through choice and action, had left an indelible mark on her. They had not only saved her life, but they had changed the way she would see the universe forever. During the flight, Elias spoke quietly about Earth's people, about the resilience and determination that defined them. Lyra listened, absorbing every word. She thought about the storm, the lives they had saved, and the countless acts of bravery she had witnessed. Each memory reinforced her understanding. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their unpredictability included the power to inspire, to lead, and to transform. Lyra's mind wandered to her own people. How often had they judged others by fear or strength alone? How often had they failed to see the potential for courage and empathy beyond their own kind? She realized that the lesson she had learned on Earth was one she must carry home. Humans had shown her that greatness was not measured by power alone. It was measured by choice, by the courage to act rightly, and by the empathy to understand others. The journey continued in silence for a time, the hum of the engines filling the cabin. Lyra gazed out at the stars, imagining her world far away. She thought of the people who had sent her here, expecting reconnaissance and intelligence. Instead, she returned with something far more valuable, knowledge of humanity, the understanding that courage and empathy could exist in forms she had never imagined. Elias turned to her. "When you go back, what will you tell your people?" he asked. Lyra considered this. She could recount the mission as a success, a scout's duty completed. But that was not enough. She wanted them to understand what she had truly learned, that humans were more than fear, more than unpredictability, more than danger. They were capable of choice, of courage, of acts that could change lives. "I will tell them," Lyra said finally, "that humans are not to be feared blindly, that they are capable of bravery, kindness, and understanding, that they saved me and taught me what courage truly means." Elias nodded, a small smile on his face. "Then you've learned the most important lesson." The flight continued smoothly, stars streaking past as if celebrating her newfound understanding. Lyra reflected on her journey, realizing that she had grown stronger not just in body or skill, but in heart and mind. Humans had challenged her assumptions, defied her expectations, and left her forever changed. As the ship approached her home planet, Lyra felt a mixture of anticipation and uncertainty. She wondered how her people would react, how they would perceive her experiences, and whether they would understand the lessons she carried. But she also felt confidence. She had seen courage in action, witnessed empathy in practice, and learned that choices could transcend species. Elias stood beside her, offering reassurance. "No matter what happens, you carry something valuable with you: knowledge, perspective, and courage." "That is what makes a difference," Lyra nodded. She realized that her journey was not just about survival or escape. It was about understanding, connection, and transformation. Humans had shown her that strength alone was not enough, that true power came from compassion, bravery, and the willingness to act for others. The landing was smooth. Lyra stepped onto the surface of her home planet, her limbs adjusting to gravity. She looked at the sky, her eyes reflecting the memory of Earth's sunrises, the storm, and the countless moments of courage she had witnessed. She knew she would carry these memories forever, shaping her actions, her decisions, and the way she related to her own people. Elias shook her hand firmly. "Remember, Lyra, courage and trust are not limited to one species. They are choices anyone can make." Lyra smiled, a warmth in her chest she had not felt before. "I will remember," she said, "and I will share what I have learned." "Humanity has changed me, Elias, forever." As Elias prepared to depart, Lyra watched his ship lift off into the sky, carrying him back to Earth. A sense of gratitude and hope filled her. She realized that her journey had not only been about surviving capture or escaping danger. It had been about understanding the potential for courage and empathy that exists in all beings. In the days that followed, Lyra shared her experiences with her people. She spoke not only of Earth's landscapes and technology, but of the humans themselves, their courage, their empathy, and their choices. She recounted the storm, the chaos, and the bravery of ordinary humans, emphasizing that greatness was not measured by weapons or strength alone, but by the courage to act, the empathy to understand, and the willingness to protect others. Her people listened, fascinated. Many had expected tales of fear, conflict, and hostility. Instead, they heard a story of inspiration, of choices made in the face of danger, of lives saved through courage and understanding. Lyra had returned not only as a scout, but as a messenger, carrying lessons that could change the way her people viewed the galaxy and themselves. In time, Lyra's account of humanity became more than a story. It became a guiding principle. Her people began to question old assumptions, to value courage, empathy, and trust as much as skill and strategy. And though Lyra never forgot the danger she had faced, she also never forgot the lessons Elias and his people had taught her. That fear need not dictate actions, that courage could inspire change, and that empathy could transcend the boundaries between worlds. Lyra stood once more under the stars, thinking of Earth, of Elias, and of the countless humans whose choices had shown her the best of their kind. She had braced for death at human hands, but instead, she had been given life, trust, and a vision of greatness that spanned species. And she knew, deep within her heart, that the universe was larger, brighter, and more full of possibility than she had ever imagined. Lyra had returned home, but she was not the same. She was stronger, wiser, and forever changed by the courage and compassion of humans. She carried their lessons with her, a bridge between worlds, a testament to the power of choice, and a reminder that even in the face of fear, greatness could shine. The stars above twinkled softly, as if acknowledging the journey she had taken, the courage she had witnessed, and the future she would help shape. Lyra smiled, knowing that the galaxy would never seem the same again, and that humanity, unpredictable and extraordinary, had changed her forever.